How you doing, YouTube? Matt Massa Beer Reviews back with a little bit of homebrew up on this piece. The form of Big Stout. Big Stout, courtesy of my boy Carson. You all know Carson been sending me beer mails for years now. But he's starting to drop a bit of homebrew in there. And this is one of his new ventures. You can go check him out on Instagram at scotch.for, so for.everyone, or homebrew for everyone. So he's kind of paired up his social media accounts there. Scotch one is obviously, he digs on Scotch, so you see all Scotch stuff. Homebrew side of things, you'll see all the homebrew stuff. And we'll see what's what. He calls this a Big Stout, 13.1% alcohol by volume. It was brewed 924. I believe I'm looking at the recipe right now on his Instagram. And he actually called it Massive Stout version 2 on his Instagram. So should have put that on there. Made me even hyped more about it. Anyway, we're looking at brewer's malt. We're Turo, caramel malt, chocolate malt, Munich, barley, and San Diego super yeast from White Labs. Looks like the recipe he has going on here. He said he hit all the numbers on this, so I'm kind of excited to give this a whirl, as I do all homebrew. Homebrew is one of my favorite things to do. If y'all out there do homebrew and you want to send me some, yeah, do so. Not a big hiss on this one. So he actually mentioned that, I believe, in this. He said lowly carbonated. So let's give this a brutal pour in there. And so he made this, like I said, 9/24, I believe, is when this was made, or bottled, I think. Yeah, because his homebrew recipe over here has September 3rd, so maybe that was that 3 weeks in there. So, I mean, homebrew labels, my favorite. A little bit of masking tape on a bottle, can't go wrong. As far as the stout goes, it definitely lacks carbonation. But you're talking about a big 13% stout. We can overcome that with a little bit of flavor, but a little bit of extra carbonation can probably put this over the top if it does land pretty nicely. But it looks thick, dark. Looks like Coca-Cola, basically, as far as the old beer goes. Soft carbonation, a little bit of carbonation, so it's not dead flat. Let's get a nose. I'm getting like Russian Imperial Stout meets Coffee Stout vibes off of this. So I'm getting a little bit, and not Russian Imperial Stout in an overtly bittering way, more like Black Albert-y kind of Russian Imperial Stout, and by that I mean a little bit of soft bittering, roasted malt, kind of soft bittering, a cherry note in here, but I'm also getting a coffee vibe from this. So, you know, big coffee vibes. It's core 4 stout, so there's no addition of coffee in here. But yeah, it has big, huge, burly beer vibes. Dare I say, kind of worldwide stouty kind of vibes in this. So, yeah, it smells quite nice. Smells like a bruiser. Smells like a big old beer. Let's dive in. Cheers. Man, that is big. This absolutely reminds me of a white stout, to be perfectly honest with you. It's a big beer. It's not overtly hot. It's not like it's stinging or burning the back of my throat, but it's big. It's roasty. It's toasty. It has this kind of cherry jammy component to it, almost the one to kind of trick you into thinking it's barrel aged. It has this kind of pseudo age characteristic to it too. He said it's really green. It is. I mean, it's only about 2 months in the bottle, but with its lack of carbonation, it helps kind of, oddly enough, kind of round out the edges. And I believe there's probably a subtle bit of oxidation here. So when you add that lack of carbonation, you add that little, not overtly negative, might be a little bit of a positive note of a little touch of soft oxidation, actually tricks me into thinking this beer is old. So that in and of itself kind of turns me on. Man, this reminds me so much of Worldwide, dude. That's a positive. That's a compliment. I'm not saying I love Worldwide stuff, but it just immediately what my brain draws to. Even though that lack of carbonation kind of adds a little softness and roundness to the edges, I would really appreciate a little bit more carbonation on this, because I think it would be that much more explosive of a beer. So let's kind of backtrack. Let's start from the beginning again. It's sticky, like jammy marzipan-y. You know, that kind of like, you know, liqueur jammy, cherry jam, raspberry jam, blackberry jammy, kind of adult candy thing, with that little bit of liqueur thing going on, like marzipan-y kind of sweetness to it. But there's a big roasty component to it. It doesn't come off nearly as coffee-like as I thought, based off of the nose, but it has this nice big roasted maltiness to it. And when you combine it with the chocolate malt, that comes off like an overly charred kind of chocolate malt, so it's not like a sweet on sweet on sweet thing. It's almost like a bittering thing. Like if you ever eaten like straight up baker's chocolate, it's not a sweet thing. It adds this kind of balance to that extra sweet, to that candy sweet, that jammy marzipan-y kind of thing going on. It's a really good beer, dude. For a big stout that has to strike against it with the carbonation. I mean, you have to look at that. It's actually more impressive that it's this fun of a beer with that lack of carbonation. I like it, man. I think it's fantastic. You know, I'm not gonna blow smoke up your or anybody's ass when it comes to these kind of things. You know, I'm gonna speak what I think is going on. What I think is going on is a really fun, really well made, big old burly, big, massive stout, man. Very fun. Just kind of want that carbonation to really bring it home. You nail the carbonation on this, and this is absolutely fantastic. This begs to be barrel aged. Maybe add a little bit of bittering to it. Maybe a little extra hops to bring up that bittering note. And when you barrel age it, that sweetness will kind of temper everything down. But this is the kind of beer where you barrel age it, and it's just a big monstrosity of a beer. You know, you're talking about a 15-16% big, huge imperial stout, hair on fire stuff. But it also drinks relatively easy. It has that roundedness to it. So yeah, chalking on it for days. These big jammy notes across the board with like dark reddish fruits, this marzipan-y kind of candy kind of thing, cakey kind of thing going on, nice big roasted malts, like I said, and just really, in the grand scheme of things, just lacks that carbonation. But I mean, in a note you said you know it's rather young, and I think this would age quite well. Maybe the carbonation, or if there is a decent amount of negative oxygen in the bottle, maybe it doesn't age beautifully, but this kind of beer can age and age epically. So, you know, if you had some really well done capped bottles of these, I would love to see these in a couple of years, because I think it would turn into something epically fantastic. And honestly, one of the better just core 4 stout homebrews I've had in quite some time. I've had some, you know, barrel aged this and, you know, all this kind of adjuncty that, but as far as a core 4 stout goes, man, this is really, really good stuff. I'm getting vibes of Worldwide. I think that kind of speaks volumes of how fun and tasty the beer is, man. I like what you, and the funny part is that I don't know if he's been homebrewing for all that long. I don't think so. I mean, we've been boys on the old internets for quite some time, and he hasn't, but, you know, yeah, what you're pulling off, man, and such a fresh beginnings, I guess you would say, is pretty impressive stuff. Thank you very much for sharing too. Very cool. So yeah, there you go. No grading, none of that bullshit. Is it one of the better homebrews and nothing, whatever. I don't do that with homebrew. Homebrew is just me talking about whether I like it or not, what I could pull out of the beer, and what I think it could be better or could be worse about the beer. Yeah, just give this some carbonation, we're good to go. So there you go, a little homebrew review in the books. If you guys enjoy homebrew, you're more than welcome to reach out to me, massivebeers@gmail.com or matt@massivebeers.com. Send some homebrew off. I love to do these for Homebrew Wednesday. So yeah, if you're looking for a little bit of homebrew review, check out Wednesdays. If I don't post a homebrew review, it means I don't have any homebrew to post. So there's the bat signal for that. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this homebrew review. Hopefully you're enjoying a little bit of homebrew yourself. Hopefully see you next time. Cheers.